Setting the baseline. In P6, setting the baseline makes a complete copy of a project including relationships, notebook entries and codes. So after you set a baseline, if you wish you can restore the baseline, then open the project and manipulate it. You'll find that other products like Microsoft Project and SureTrack don't baseline a complete project and they only baseline dates, durations, costs and hours, and you can't actually open a Microsoft Project baseline file. On the other hand, P6 will only allow you to baseline a complete project, and unlike other products like Astra and Project, you cannot baseline part of a project. So once you've set a baseline, you'll be able to compare the current project's progress against the baseline project, and therefore you can show the baseline project as bars or the data in columns. I consider two types of baselines when I look at baselines. First of all, there is what I'll call a management or contract baseline. So this would be a copy of the original project when you sign a contract, or if you're executing an in-house project, it's the agreed schedule that the project will be managed by as the project progresses. And in the case of a contract baseline, this will be the baseline that extensions of time and variations and scope changes or acceleration may be calculated against. The other type of baseline is what I call a last period status baseline. So this is a copy of the project that you take before you update it, and therefore you can compare this week's progress with last week's or this month's progress with last month's. So often I'll show two baseline bars. I'll have the original baseline, which will be a management or contract baseline, and I'd have last period, so I can see how much time I've lost against last period and how much time I've lost against the original contract or management baseline. The number of baselines that may be saved and copied is set in the admin preferences form, and you can save as many baselines as you like. There doesn't appear to be a practical limit, but when you copy a project, the maximum number of baselines you can copy with the project is 50. You can display up to 4 baselines as a project baseline and 3 user baselines. And you'll find that as you go from project down through the user baselines, less and less baseline data may actually be read at the current schedule level. So you need to be careful about the sort of data you can read. Moving on. So to set a baseline, baselines are created, deleted, restored and updated in the project maintain baselines form, and projects are assigned from the assign baseline form. So let's have a look at how this works. So I'm in the Ausbuild project, and if I go to the bars form, I can display, for example, the project baseline and the primary baseline. And what you'll see is that I have a baseline bar displayed for both the project and the primary baseline. Sometimes you need to go to View Table Font and Row and increase the height here, maybe about to 28, and therefore you can see both baseline bars. Now, as I explained earlier, we're actually reading here the plan days. And if I pull this activity out, you'll see the baseline bars follow it. And therefore, this is not a baseline. And if you select Project, Maintain Baselines, I haven't got a baseline. And Project, Assign Baselines, where I'm showing the current project here, where I'm showing the current project, it's actually reading the plan dates. So current project in the baseline form here means the plan dates. I can select Edit, Undo, and take that back again. So I'm showing a baseline bar, but I'm actually reading the plan dates. So to create a baseline, you select Project, Maintain Baselines, and here I can add a baseline and have a choice of saving a copy of the current project or converting another. Let's talk about saving a copy of the current project as a new baseline. If I select OK, then what we do is the software copies this project here and it creates a baseline. So I can call this contract baseline or whatever I like. And I can actually here select a baseline type that comes from the admin categories. Now once I've created this baseline, if I close, you'll find in the projects view, I cannot see it. You cannot open it. So although I've created baseline and our project here, if I select Maintain Baselines, I have a baseline here. I can't open it. If I want to open that baseline, I've got to restore it. And when I restore it, it's no longer a baseline. And now I can go into the projects view and I can open this and view it. If I now wish to go to Project, Maintain Baselines, and I add one, if I convert another project, I can actually take this project and bring it back in and make it back into a baseline. and reassign its baseline type. So I now have a real baseline. If I select Project Assign Baselines, I can now take this project and assign it as a baseline. And if I select OK, what you'll see now is when I pull this activity out, baseline 1, or project baseline, is a real baseline now, and the first user baseline is still reading the plan dates. I quite often select Project Assign Baselines, and I make sure that I set a real baseline for both the project baseline and the user baseline. Now you can see that these are user baselines, so you need to be careful. If somebody else opens your project, you must make sure that they set their primary, secondary and tertiary, if you're using them, the same as yours. Otherwise they will be reading the plan dates when you are reading a different baseline. So it's important that you proceduralize these issues. So at this point in time now, I've set a baseline, and if I pull this activity out, you can see that neither bar is moving, so I'm actually reading a real baseline. The other thing you need to be careful of is, if I undo this, if I go to Admin and I go to Admin Preferences, you must make sure you go to Earn Value, and if you have an in-progress project, you must make sure that you're not reading the plan dates, otherwise you're reading the plan dates from the in-progress project and they could hold irrelevant data. So I recommend that you set it to at completion values, but the current dates will read the current dates from your existing program. So that's how you set a baseline.